And we want to give a very warm welcome to Som. Without Som and Elastic support, we definitely would not have been able to pull off this year's AWS User Group Community Day. So before we begin, I'd like to give a loud round of applause to Elastic and Som and the collaboration that we've built. So Som is a developer advocate at Elastic, working closely with developers and customers to build, adopt, and scale solutions at the Elastic stack. With experience across technical sales, customer onboarding, and product support, he brings a strong customer-first perspective to building and advocating software solutions. He's also an active community contributor, regularly speaking, writing, and engaging with tech communities. Today, he will be speaking on making Elasticsearch conversational, agents, ESIQL, and you with Elastic Agent Builder. With a loud round of applause, can we bring on stage Om?
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. As Ramesh said, we should just be much more interactive. The plan, I know today you're just going to hear agents. It's going to be there, sure. But I've made this talk much more lighter, what we can take away from this session, something that I want you to probably get that curiosity out of it. So let's start, if you all are okay. So hello and welcome everyone. And you're going to see Mamuka coming up and some memes coming up, but I just make it much more lighter. Like I said, just want to make it much more interactive. That's the idea. So why I'm here, I'm not sure, right? So Ariella, so maybe what I want to do is, this is the talk that what we have planned for today. It's basically agents, ESQL, and us actually. And what we are going to make is we're just making Elastic Agent Builder and making search much more conversational. Right? It's just very simple. Whatever we have right now, whatever search that we have, I'm just going to talk about the evolution of search, how we moved from the traditional search and right now, and much more lighter format, as well as much more something that you can take away. Right? So to start with, I'm Someshwaran Mohan Kumar. I'm an open source enthusiast. I call myself an open source enthusiast. Right? And the projects that I started working with ELK. So how many of them know ELK here? Okay, so then we should talk more about it. Feel free to probably bug me in the booth. We have a booth and we can talk much more about it, what you're doing, and how you are solving big problems at scale, right? And luckily enough, if you are known ELK, so Elastic is the company behind ELK, where we are building beats, Logstash, and data pipelines, and as well as agent builders and all those things. And I was able to be a part of Elastic as well as a developer advocate. I'm at Elastic for the last close to 4 years right now, and I write blogs, and I try to make sure I be more technical and make it much more easier for people to consume much more technical stuffs that we have. Right. So like I initially started, I want this to be more interactive. What I can make a promise for this talk is I wanted to take, I'm not sure whether we'd be able to cover all the agent builder, all the in and out, low level stuffs and all those things, right? What promise I can make is you can probably take something out of this session, want you to go home, try it out. I have all the resources attached, so you can go back, try the collab notebooks, and then come back to me in case if you're stuck, and in case if you make use of this platform, whatever we have, right? And I get a good yeah from you guys, right? We'll go ahead. Now, let's understand who is here. As I believe we have got a tea break, you must have taken some time. Let's probably start with understanding who are in the crowd, right? And who are developers here? Raise of hands. Okay. 95% developers. Okay. So how many of them are SRE, DevOps? Okay. Nice. Good to know. And how many of them are students first time exploring AI? This is the first time you're hearing. Just 3-4 hands. Oh, good. Don't be embarrassed. Because this is the chance that we can try to understand more about AI. You have got people, like I said, 90% of developers here. Feel free to talk to them, understand more about what you can take away from this session by knowing networking with them. And that's going to give you much more aspect of what you can do going home and probably talk with them more. That's how networking works, and this is the space that you can probably make use of it. And that's the idea of it as well for me. So now let's go ahead. These are the jargons that we're going to discuss today. Directly or indirectly, I'll be covering all these jargons. And don't worry, don't get overwhelmed by these jargons. If you know these jargons or the glossaries or concepts, well and good. If you are just hearing this for the first time, like I said, somehow you will be able to probably come across all these concepts by end of this session. And once you make an hands-on experiments, a DIY from your end, it will be much easier for you to probably end of the day, you would know yourself that, you have completed all those jargons, you know node mesh and N8N and all these things, right? So how many of them are very much comfortable with AWS services you have already worked on, like AWS Bedrock models? You are hosting your own models, foundational models. Raise of hands. Okay. You have your own accounts in AWS, trying with AWS Bedrock, fought with your AWS support team to enable foundational models. Anyone? Okay. So that's where I want to cover more on things. Okay. Down the line, I will probably give you how easy you can access models and how Elastic plays a bigger role in giving you a platform where it's easier for you to access good foundational models that's battle tested and much more matured models that you can immediately start consuming, right? And first question that I want to ask today is search still relevant? Maybe someone, can we talk? Is search still relevant? Maybe you can give. Okay, no judgments.
So I'm from an e-com background. So I used to provide services for various e-commerce websites and all. So there, I believe, like for sites with large SKUs and all, the search is definitely relevant.
Okay. And anyone else want to try?
It is all about the user interface. At the same time, like we'll think about the engineers who are maintaining the application. They have to search the logs. Basically, still it is relevant.
Okay. So there are billions of logs, so you
Yes.
want to search through it.
Obviously,
Okay.
yes.
Anyone else? Any more? What's happening in search? Search became relevant. So I got one e-commerce where he was saying search is relevant, and one where we need logs to search billions. Then yeah.
Yeah, in healthcare system, search is relevant to get access, insights on the records and all. But the way we search has changed, where we can interact, like we can continue with whatever previous query was, get more insights and drill it down.
Exactly. Right. So we're going to talk more about it, as you said. All your answers are right, but I'm just going to we are going to talk much more how it changed, how things are to evolve in search, right? So when we initially got Google search, right? So what happened was we were able to get millions of results, and this was the things. We had 10 pages that actually happened, and we should be able to see millions of results that we came through, right? But I'm sure we would have not crossed even first page by searching for the next page, right? So basically, when we start with the first result, checking into it, we spend all our time and all our efforts in just first result, and then going back with respect to, and that was specifically for keyword searches, right? And we have to go through each and every result, and it took us much time, right? And this was before ChatGPT that got evolved. Now, how search got changed, right? Basically, search became much more conversational, right? Now, the major reason why we feel very much connected to ask any question, right? Basically, NLP came to the picture, and then we started asking more questions, and that gave us more control of what we are asking for. Instead of we running through all the 10 pages with millions of results, it exactly found out what we actually require, and it actually looked into something called as intent from what you're looking for, and it gave you the results exactly summarized as what you wanted, right? Based on your personas, based on your profiles, what you're asked for, right? That's what we're going to discuss. Now, very one question that we started. Is search still relevant? Yes, it became very important than ever, because when ChatGPT came into the picture, basically in the backend, they have started crawling the web search, and that's where ChatGPT and Perplexity were. They had a very big difference of citations, and that were able to they will penetrate the market as such, right? And not just became important, and also it became conversational, right? When it became more conversational, we got attached to it, right? Now we were not able to stop talking to it. Everyone would definitely have an application or LLM application on your phone, started talking to it, and once you start talking to it, we started asking more questions. We started digging further. We didn't stop there, right? But actual search, we just use the keyword, we just see, we just take it, copy paste it, and that's it. right? But now what we asked, okay, so what you're talking about it, why you're talking about it, and explain me more on so-and-so terms, right? And that's where we started getting addicted, right? And it's a good term. To be honest, it's a good. Keeping aside the hallucination and factual correctness, still it made us much more easier to convey and more conversational, right? So let's understand a search better with an example, okay? So now whoever not working, maybe I just want to understand now I say e-commerce, log, as well as healthcare. How many of them have started working with search in the background? Anyone? I know you all developers, so somewhere you would have probably started with your binary search and everything. How many of them not worked with binary search? Raise of hands. Worked with binary search then? No. I see both of them. I know Kochi is calm, but I just need few more interactiveness, right? So let's be much more active. Let's be much more easier to interact. So like I said, search is everywhere, because when we started with engineering, when I started with the normal searching, right? There is different kinds of search, binary search and all these things, where you also sort, you also try to find out what is the best merge search and so many things, right? So I wanted to keep it much high level. Like as you're also developers, I just want to make sure you're also able to correlate with your own ecosystem, whatever you're trying to use, right? Now, the example, let's go ahead, right? So whenever we started searching, it became conversational. We just mentioned it became conversational. But what it made sense is whenever you type a query saying that show me eco-friendly running shoes for, let's say, under 100 rupees or 100 euros. The reason why it became very connected is because you're just trying to find out the intent. Like I said, it became intent-driven, right? Previously, it was not intent-driven. It was keyword-driven. So whoever would have run blogs and websites on your end, they would have already told you, find your right keyword so that your blog can rank in the search results, right? I think e-commerce would have done for a very long time. All your metadata, application, JSON LD, and all these things is to make use of the keyword specifically, and then you try to make sure your results come on the top. So likewise, you don't have to worry too much on this, because now you have more vectors, and it has much more synonyms, and much more dimensions, and that is where things started to fall in place, and we started much more adopting to conversational search, right? Semantic search, basically. And within this query, as you see, show me eco-friendly shoes, it was able to identify that signals, basically the intent. It is also called as guardrails. So basically, it just, if an LLM, if you probably give this query, it does not just go out there, run a brute force search on top of millions of records. It has to need some purpose to go and probably understand what it's talking about, right? So that is where this parameters comes in picture. That is the intents, the signals comes into the picture. The signals are basically the eco-friendly is called as sustainable materials. Running shoes is basically the category. And the filter is basically the 100 euros or 100 rupees that you have. So now when you do this, you already get your actual eco-friendly shoes that you're looking for. And it's specifically running shoes, and which is 100 euros. You're not spending time going through all your results. You're not spending more efforts to find out what exactly you need, what brand or something, right? It exactly gives you a bucket, which you can probably just spend time, what you need. It's just a very small niche. You will just complete your purchase within the next 2-3 minutes. That is what the user experience most of the e-commerce will be looking for. They just want very seamless, smooth transition from when you're searching and when you're going to the payment cart and completing your actual payment actually. That's how things started. Basically, they try to find the session time that one user takes when they log into your system, and how payment is probably transferred, how long it took for a per person to go from here to probably have the payment done. So that's where you need to probably look into much more seamless interaction. And this is where search has been much more easier, making much more recommendations, suggestions, and all these things that came to the picture, right? Now, let's take a look back, whatever we saw. We saw a glossary where we thought, okay, these are the things that we're going to go through. And after that, we went through how searches got evolved from traditional search to conversational search. And we saw how intent-driven search has been taken care. Now, let's take, what does this mean to us, right? So basically, why they have to probably change this to conversational, right? There was already search. Why there was this change? Why do we need this change, right? Like you already said, the pain points. Millions of results, the blogs we had, and the time we spent. And this is where they were trying to make sure how we can tune this time in understanding, right? And this is where I want to take a quick 5 minutes of introducing Elasticsearch. So Elasticsearch is a full text search engine plus vector search engine as well. And it is capable of doing vectors on top of it. And it is built using Apache Lucene. How many of them know Apache Lucene? Raise of hands. Apache projects? Okay. Yes. So when you use Apache, so basically Elastic has invested much on contribution to open source. Open source is basically the roots of what Elasticsearch has been evolved. And when we started getting vector support for Elasticsearch or Apache Lucene, automatically it got much more compatible for the Elasticsearch that is built on top of Apache Lucene, right? And as you have not known, as the name suggests, Elasticsearch, by default, you think this is just a search engine, right? That's a search analytics engine, right? But it's much more than search. And also as ELK know, like you were saying, it was just to dump all your logs and you have all your storage, and that's it, right? And it's not just logs or it's not just search. There's much more than that. So once you get your logs into it, right? Let's assume you got all your billions of logs. Now what you can do on top of it, from where you got those logs? You got it from your observability system. You got it from your host infrastructure. Now you can run monitoring system on top of it. It's one centralized platform where you can able to probably do all your, once you got your logs, you can run your observability monitoring on top of it, run your infrastructure, run your profiling, basically understanding how your microservices are talking to each other, right? And once you got your logs as well, you can also do on top of it. Observability is fine, but now we need security. Now this is where we can also tighten the systems, where we can probably look into threat detection as well as malware protection and all these things. And Elastic has been working on much more on SIEM recently, and we have been working on SIEM on a very high level, so you should be able to probably take care of it. Take a look at it, and if you have any doubts, feel free to reach out. But today, we are going to talk about building your own search application. That's our actual agenda. That's where I'm talking about how you can make it agent builder, how you can make use of it, and how Bedrock has been using in the backend, right? And this is the search platform that we have, the features. Basically, if you see, we should be able to make use of vector search, as I said. Vector search is one of the key criteria why Elasticsearch will be much easier for you to probably make use of as an individual, as well as when you're talking from a business perspective, you can probably leverage Elastic as well. Now let's dig further on, like I said, vector search, right? How many of you know what's vector search? Okay, so maybe you can talk about it.
So yeah, vector search is semantically we use to search through the vector embeddings, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
For
what you can do
semantic search.
What you can do on top of it?
What you can do top of it, like, yeah, we can search through the semantics. We can search through the vector embeddings and like which makes the most similarity, and we can retrieve those chunks and we can send it
Excellent.
to LLM and generate response.
Perfect, perfect. Anyone else want to try? Yeah.
What we actually done is like when using LLMs, they don't have the relevant, maybe up-to-date information. So the thing is, the data is when dealing with the natural language, the data is not in the ML or no in the numerical format. First, we have to convert that into numerical format. We will be using embeddings for that, and we will be storing these contexts into some vector spaces or vector databases. So when a user comes, ask a document or queries about a document or a context, maybe we can search those information out of these vector database. That's the vector search means. Like the vector means we are actually converting some textual or like any kind of information into numerical format.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to try? This side. From e-commerce. Okay, so that's what we're going to try. That's what we're going to talk now. So basically, don't worry. I'm just making sure. Consider this is the data set. Okay, so this is a data set where we have 4 dimensions. Okay, we have 4 characters basically. So this is called as L key. Consider it's L key, or if you want to consider it as deer, that's completely fine. Where we have the cartoons, we have birds as well, where we have mammals of it, as well as the realistic version of it, right? Whenever we have this data set together, that is like we all humans, right? So we have our own personal characters. We all are different, but somewhere we have that common point, right? So that's where we want to probably figure out how semantic search will run top of it. So now if you see, this is a data set where we have. So whenever when I query, right? When I query with the specific image, which is L key, in a set of data set, it will try to find the right image that we are looking for. As you see here in the last, like when I queried, it rightly found out the result, where the L key, but it also has some rank window, that is the results of nearest neighbor, which is how close my other data sets are with the actual query. And that's where this semantic search comes into the picture. Now I have showed it with respect to an image, right? But if you look in low level, it is more of numbers. It's more of matrices, dimensions. So let's say if I have a word called welcome, right? You can have different types of how you can welcome someone, right? Different dimensions of it. Hello, hi, and all these things are different synonyms of it. So these are all captured in different dimensions. And based on these dimensions, whenever you try to ask something, let's say whenever you try to ask a query, it exactly knows why you are asking this question and at what position you're asking this question. So there is something called as transformers. Have you worked on transformers before? Whoever worked on it, right? So basically transformers nothing but it tries to understand at what intent as well as what position you're asking something, right? It tries to collect that information and it tries to store it as in vector embeddings in your databases, right? And this is the one of the aspect. But now let's see, when you started hearing vectors first, when was the first time you heard, okay, this is vectors? Maybe anyone? Tell me. GenAI, okay. Anyone? RAG, okay. Anyone? Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
There also we get vectors with the same concept.
Yes.
There also we do cosine similarity in order to match these vectors together. So when it comes to NLP, I think that's where I heard vectors first.
Got it. Okay. I'm not talking from a developer perspective, just from a user perspective, right? When we first heard vectors, sorry, Max, okay? And from a consumer perspective, let's say so back in 2021, we got a big boom saying that, okay, this is something very nice. What was it? When it became conversational. ChatGPT, exactly. That's when we started figuring out, okay, so why it's able to probably make it more easier, right? It was able to scale at so dramatic space. Within 2-3 days, it was able to get millions of users without any problem. Because it was first running behind the vectors, right? It was first running behind all the semantic on top of it. And that's where things started to fall in place. That's where we started to got evolved from. This is the first interface we are just saying. There were chatbots before ChatGPT as well. But we were not very much using chatbot before because of vectorization. There was no vectorization, right? There was no semantic meaning to it. We just ask question, it gives us documentation, that's it. But once it started vectorizing, something that you're asking for, the NLP, actually the game completely changed, right? So this is where vector comes into the picture. So we are talking from 2021, right? We're starting from 2021. But from an open source perspective, vector has been there for a very long time. Vector has been something that we have not adopted a lot, right? So as you see, here are some roadmap that how Elastic is also working on vectors, and it's been battle tested for a very long time. Right from 2017, it had a native vector search capability, and it started to evolve. Right now, if you ask me if you're working on vectors or if you're going to work on vectors and semantic search moving forward, the embeddings, the scale at which that you need an infrastructure to work with your embeddings as well as your vectors, if you see billions of logs and records that you have, you need infrastructure to crazy level of infrastructure, and you'll be paying for all your cloud compute and all those things. And that's where quantization and disk BBQ and everything. It's like reducing the footprints of how easy we can do something a vector. And if you've been working on local systems, local LLM systems like Olama, LM Studio, how easily you can run your own models without having a very good NVIDIA GPU cards and all those things. That's where we have been working on it, and it's making much more easier for you guys to probably just use Elasticsearch as a normal consumer, as an individual consumer, if you're able to solve some problem specifically for you guys as an individual contributor or individual consumer, you should be able to solve that problem for a business as well without any problem. That is how we are trying to make sure, we are trying to probably make sure we also provide the open source side of things where you can also try it out, you can be a contributor, you can also probably talk more about how Elasticsearch can help you on a personal front. That's what I'm going to show a demo, right, in a couple of minutes. Let's talk something that makes sense, right? How many of them seen this? I know you guys have already been there, but not talking about it. Maybe anyone? Don't be embarrassed, it's okay, no judgments. What's that? It's dating app, okay? He's being much more formal, I guess, yeah. Yeah, anyone? Shadi.com. Yeah, it's basically Tinder, right? So when you say Tinder, like I said, right, the personal and semantic and understanding much more different dimensions of one, right? Tinder is a very good place, right? Tinder has been using Elasticsearch for a very long time. Like I said, we had been using Elastic natively for a very long time. Like when you see Tinder, you see Elasticsearch, right? There is completely running on Elasticsearch. The reason why I'm saying this is, as an individual, as a human, we have different personal traits, different layers. We might like today, we might not like tomorrow, right? We have our own dislikes and likes, right? That is kind of a semantic relationship that Elastic will be able to probably provide on top of it. And don't blame Elasticsearch if you're not getting matches, okay? So that's a disclaimer. And you can just read those blogs and you can come back, and I'll stop more on what we are talking about, matches or something, right? But on a very high note, basically we saw evolution of search, basically what we saw, and how search can be done with respect to vectors, and how Elastic can be quickly used on top of it, right? Now, let me say how we are able to relate it. So I was talking all about search. Now, how can we use it? That's what we have to talk about, right? Now, you heard all my talk now. Now you saw all the slides, saw all the memes. Now, how you can use it when you go back home, right? That's what actually the end goal, right? So now, let's see how can we make it conversational. Now, we got all your logs. When you say, let's get your logs, you're able to probably have it, everything stored. Now, you should make it conversational. You want to don't build a chatbot on your own, right? You need something to probably quickly run it up. So this is what it is. What is this? Sorry. So basically, what I want to relate is the rice is important in your meal, right? Without rice, there is nothing else. You can't eat your own char, right? The curries, just not that will not work out. So this is where Elastic plays a very bigger role, where Elastic provides you with the memory as well as the storage, whatever you're talking about. And actually, it also have you can use it as a knowledge base. So when you have all your logs or when you have all your documents, all the data within Elasticsearch, you need something more, right, to make it more conversational. That's where Elastic Agent Builder comes into picture. Elastic Agent Builder is a complete platform where you will have access to Elastic Managed LLMs, which is backed by AWS Bedrock. So you don't have to find your own Bedrock, get your API, secret token and everything, but you have access to do that as well. If you have access, if you already have AWS Bedrock, all your AWS account set up, you should be able to probably get your secret token as well as your access key, and then you should be able to use it in Elasticsearch. But let's say if you don't have AWS Bedrock access, if you don't have a cloud account or something, if you have your own LLMs, if you want to do with open source LLMs as well, that's possible. If you're able to probably create your own OpenAI compatible LLM models or the endpoint, basically you can make use of Olama or LM Studio to connect and run your own server of LLMs, and you can connect with Elasticsearch to make it conversational, right? And you can make use of, as you see, these are the timers, these are the connectors that you can make use of it on top of Elasticsearch and make it more conversational. You can try with multiple models and not just do with just one model or two models that you have. And you don't have to worry about any inference pipelines or any inference services separately. It's already there. You can just start consuming when you use Elastic Cloud. But if you want to try it out more hands-on, how many want to try infrastructure? Maybe do it maybe on-prem or something. Anyone? Anyone running your on-prem servers? Want to try your on-prem side? I see one hand go up, right? So when you want to do it on-prem, right? So you can do it much more tuning. You can do much more hands-on, how you can fine-tune your models, how you can probably add more value, maybe whatever exactly you require, you can fine-tune it. You don't have to, it is called as optimization, basically. Optimize basically what you have with respect to infra, or the hardware that you have. So if you want to follow along, just make sure you can just scan this. I've given all the collab notebooks as well as how you can work on it once you go back home. Try this DIY and let me know. Maybe I'll just be here. So I have given all the resources, basically how you can start quickly. Okay, I'm just going to show you a demo as well, what I have built using this. I'm just going to show you something more personal that I use with respect to Elasticsearch as well as LLMs. How we can use this to our advantage. That's what we require. We don't need ChatGPT, right? We can store our data in ChatGPT? We can't ask our data in ChatGPT, okay? So this is where I wanted to probably show you some application that I have been using for a very long time, now at least in a year now. So which you can make use of with respect to Elastic. You can spin up your own open source cluster, or you can probably use Elastic Cloud to test it out, right? And yes, if you could play the video. Yes, so basically I'm using Telegram because it's much easier for me to set it up. We have used Telegram bots. It has voice inputs as well as text input. And I'm using N8N, which is a workflow trigger. And I'm using Elasticsearch as an Elastic Agent Builder. That has MCP, hosted MCP, as well as AWS Bedrock as an Elastic Managed LLMs, right? If you want to replace these LLMs, you should be able to do it. Now, let me go to the Telegram. So when in Telegram, I'm just going to ask, this is a bot, okay? It collects all my expense receipts. I'm going to talk about much more expenses. Now, if I ask a question, is it paused? Can you play that again? I think it skipped it. So I'll just stop it here, maybe I'll. So I've been using, in case we're not sure about how voice and text inputs I've been using. So basically, text inputs by default, you're same as WhatsApp and Telegram, you would be able to write your text, right? But for voice input, you can run voice notes. So in the backend, what I'm doing in N8N is basically I'm just trying to transcribe from speech to text. There is a model where I'm trying to probably work on it. And then you would be able to ingest as well as you would be able to ask questions on top of it. I think it's missed. Yeah, so yeah, I've added these demos and everything in my blog as well. Now, as you see here, if I ask, can you share my total expenses for the month of September 2025? It gives me exactly the expenses what I've spent for the month of September. So now we're just asking queries, right? This is an expense app, right? So you should also add your expense also. How easy you can add an expense is what we are talking about. Now, as you saw, show me the running shoes, the query, right? It added those queries. This was just fetching it from the database. But we need some way to add our information to the database as well, right? That's where these workflows play a very bigger role. That's where Elastic also plays a very bigger role to just take all the semantic information that we have, and then it stores it as an embeddings on the fly with Elasticsearch, and you should be able to see. Can you just go 10 seconds back? Back, please. Yes. So if you see here, in the initial query, I have asked, okay, so can you share my total expenses for the month of September? Can you just pause the same frame? Yeah. So, and then I'm also adding my expense. Can you add an expense of ₹6,000 paid for some spendings that I had, and as well as where I spent, as well as paid by my credit card, and I'm giving the date when I spent it. This is very natural language. Same as I said, it infers the signals from it, It takes the parameters from what I'm probably adding, and then exactly it gave me, yeah, I've added the expense. It's paid 6,000 rupees via credit card and spent on hanging cabinet purchase, and that's from IKEA. So this has been added as an organization automatically, and as a merchant in Elasticsearch. Can you go to Elasticsearch? Yeah. Play again. Yes, and it's been stored automatically here as a semantic enabled, and as you see here, it has category, currency, merchant, and normalized INRs. Let's say you might be asking me, why should I spend? I don't want to try it out. I don't want Telegram. I don't want these things, right? I want somewhere I want to try it out myself, right? That's where Elastic Agent Builder comes into the picture. Now everything is added. Now Elastic Agent Builder already trying to connect with your workflow, and we are able to talk in our Telegram itself. But let's say we don't have Telegram. If you want to immediately try it out, there is a UI interface where you can make use of, just start the same query. Can you just play the second video? Yeah, I'm just asking the same thing. Can you share me the last 3 months personal expenses? The same chatbot, what you see, and it goes through the tracing. Basically, it understands how it's trying to think, how it's trying to get, and it uses the indices that I'm using where we have logged all our documents, and from there it tries to give it the ESQL query. This is the query that is easily for you to probably build it, and this is something, we have different queries, query DSL and all those things, but you should be able to build this query much more easier, and shows the queries for you, how it's trying to build a query and how it's trying to query Elasticsearch. And once you do that, you should be able to get the complete transaction based on your prompt instructions, how you wanted to probably have an output, a response out of it. And this is the actual, as you see, that last 3 months of expense that has been spent. This is the same thing that goes through your Telegram as well, but in a different format, how you want to probably collect it. And yeah, this is an easy way to do it. Let me go to the next slide. Slides. Yes. So that's where I want to wrap. Before I want to probably conclude, I just wanted to probably give you some heads up. So we have Ashish here, and we have our booth there. So you should be able to ask more questions. In case if you feel shy about asking questions here, feel free to reach out to us in booth. If you want to talk much more technical stuff, much more engineering, because whatever we covered is on much higher level right now. If you want to talk much more low level, specifically to a use case, feel free to reach out in the booth as well. We have a workshop which we are going to have it around 2 o'clock. Feel free to drop to a workshop where we want to probably see how you can do ingestions, how you can probably create your own visualizations and observability from a perspective. And if you are doing this, you want to understand more on Elasticsearch, feel free to join our Elastic Kochi user group. We are doing more, we want to do much more events in Kochi, and we want to probably build much more engineering side of things in respect to Kochi. This is available even in my blog, which I have shared it initially, so you should be able to probably log into that Kochi user group, and you should be able to join. And that's all my time. Thank you very much for being a lovely audience. Thank you for being more interactive. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Som. It was a very insightful and interactive session. Let's give him a big round of applause. I invite Siddharth to hand over a token of appreciation to